Lesson 1. China resists outside influence. The Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1901, also known as the Yihetuan Movement, was a violent anti-foreign and anti-Christian uprising that took place in China between 1899 and 1901. The rebellion was led by the Society of Righteous and Harmonious Fists, commonly referred to as the Boxers, a secret society that practiced martial arts and believed in the invincibility of their members against foreign weapons. The Boxers blamed foreign powers and Christian missionaries for China's problems, including economic hardship, natural disasters, and the spread of Western influence. The Boxer Rebellion gained momentum in northern China, particularly in Shandong and Hebei provinces, where foreign presence and Christian missionary activity were most pronounced. The Boxers targeted foreign missionaries, Chinese Christians, and foreign-owned property, leading to widespread violence and destruction. The Qing government, initially ambivalent toward the Boxers, eventually supported the movement in an attempt to expel foreign powers from China. In June 1900, the Boxers and Qing forces besieged the foreign legations in Beijing, leading to an international crisis. The international community responded to the Boxer Rebellion with a joint military intervention known as the Eight-Nation Alliance, which included troops from Britain, France, Germany, Russia, Japan, the United States, Italy, and Austria-Hungary. The alliance quickly defeated the Boxers and Qing forces, capturing Beijing in August 1900. The foreign troops engaged in looting and reprisals, further exacerbating the suffering of the Chinese population. The rebellion ended with the signing of the Boxer Protocol in September 1901, which imposed harsh penalties on China. The Boxer Protocol required China to pay a massive indemnity, allow foreign troops to be stationed in Beijing, and execute officials who had supported the Boxers. The treaty also prohibited China from importing arms for 2 years and forced the government to apologize to the foreign powers. The Boxer Rebellion and its aftermath further weakened the Qing dynasty and deepened China's subjugation to foreign powers. However, the rebellion also demonstrated the resilience of Chinese nationalism and the growing desire for independence and self-determination. The Boxer Rebellion remains a controversial and complex event in Chinese history. While it is often portrayed as a xenophobic and reactionary movement, it also reflected the deep-seated frustrations of the Chinese people in the face of foreign domination and internal decay. The rebellion highlighted the urgent need for reform and modernization in China, and set the stage for the revolutionary movements that would eventually overthrow the Qing dynasty in 1911. The 100 Days Reform, 1898, was a brief but ambitious period of political and institutional reform in China during the summer of 1898. The reforms were initiated by the young Guangxu Emperor and his advisors, including the prominent scholar Kang Youwei, who sought to modernize China's political, economic, and educational systems. The reform movement was inspired by the success of the Meiji Restoration in Japan and aimed to strengthen China's ability to resist foreign aggression and internal decay. The 100 Days Reform encompassed a wide range of measures, including the establishment of modern schools and universities, the promotion of science and technology, the reorganization of the military, and the streamlining of government bureaucracy. The reformers also sought to promote industrialization, improve infrastructure, and encourage private enterprise. These measures were designed to address the root causes of China's weakness and create a more efficient and competitive state. Despite its progressive goals, the 100 Days Reform faced strong opposition from conservative factions within the Qing court, particularly the Empress Dowager Cixi, who wielded significant power behind the scene. Cixi and her allies viewed the reforms as a threat to their authority and the traditional Confucian order. In September 1898, Cixi staged a coup d'état, placing the Guangxu Emperor under house arrest and effectively ending the reform movement. Many of the reformers, including Kang Youwei and his protege Liang Qichao, were forced to flee into exile. The failure of the 100 Days Reform had far-reaching consequences for China. It demonstrated the deep divisions within the Qing court and the difficulty of implementing meaningful change in the face of entrenched conservative opposition. The suppression of the reform movement also disillusioned many Chinese intellectuals and reformers, who began to question the viability of the Qing dynasty and the possibility of achieving reform through peaceful means. Despite its short duration, the 100 Days Reform left a lasting legacy. It inspired later reform efforts and revolutionary movements, including the Xinhai Revolution of 1911, which ultimately led to the fall of the Qing dynasty. The reform movement also highlighted the importance of education, modernization, and political reform in China's struggle for survival and renewal. The ideas and aspirations of the 100 Days Reform continue to resonate in China's ongoing quest for national strength and prosperity. U.S. Open Door Policy, 1899, was a diplomatic initiative proposed by the United States in 1899 to ensure equal trading rights for all foreign powers in China and to prevent the colonization of Chinese territory. The policy was articulated in a series of notes sent by U.S. Secretary of State John Hay to the major powers involved in China, including Britain, France, Germany, Russia, and Japan. The Open Door Policy sought to preserve China's territorial integrity and administrative sovereignty while promoting free trade and economic competition. The Open Door Policy was motivated by both economic and strategic considerations. The United States, which had recently acquired the Philippines as a result of the Spanish-American War, 1898, sought to expand its commercial interests in Asia. American businesses were eager to access the vast Chinese market, but they feared being excluded by the spheres of influence established by other foreign powers. The Open Door Policy aimed to level the playing field and ensure that all nations could compete on equal terms in China. The major powers initially responded to the Open Door Policy with cautious acceptance, as none were willing to openly oppose the principle of equal trading rights. However, their commitment to the policy was often superficial, and they continued to pursue their own interests in China. The Boxer Rebellion, 1899 to 1901, tested the viability of the Open Door Policy, as foreign powers used the crisis to further their own agendas. The United States, however, reaffirmed its commitment to the policy by participating in the Eight-Nation Alliance and advocating for China's territorial integrity in the Boxer Protocol. The Open Door Policy had significant implications for U.S.-China relations and the broader international order. It marked the United States' emergence as a major player in East Asian affairs and signaled its commitment to a policy of non-colonization and free trade. The policy also reflected the growing influence of American business interests in shaping U.S. foreign policy. However, the Open Door Policy was often criticized for its idealism and lack of enforcement mechanisms, as it relied on the goodwill of the major powers to uphold its principles. The legacy of the Open Door Policy continues to shape U.S.-China relations and the discourse on international trade and diplomacy. While the policy was initially designed to protect American interests in China, it also contributed to the broader goal of maintaining stability and openness in the region. The principles of the Open Door Policy were later incorporated into international agreements, such as the Washington Naval Treaty, 1922, and the United Nations Charter, which sought to promote collective security and economic cooperation. Despite its limitations, the Open Door Policy remains a significant chapter in the history of U.S. foreign policy and the global struggle for fair and equitable trade.